Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and today we are going to be checking out the Major Bendies from the guys over at the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. That is right. In case you hadn't heard, the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast crew has brought back the old WWF Bend-Ems style action figures, but they are now called Major Bendies. And of course, featuring the boys from the show, but with some more great independent workers coming in future waves as well. So we've got the first wave here, courtesy of the guys over at the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. And this first series gives us Swoggle, Brian Myers, Matt Cardona, and Smart Mark Sterling. So this is pretty fun to see these original Bend-Ems style figures kind of make a comeback with them. I actually have some of my original Undertaker ones still here because I've always collected these Undertaker figures, and the Bend-Ems were part of my collection. I wanted to bring them in here to kind of show them side by side with what they're doing with these new figures. So you'll notice that the packages are very reminiscent of those vintage card backs that I just brought in here to show you, but they did change them up a little bit. There's some collector style packaging going on here, which is really, really nice. I do want to point out I've got a little bit of scuffing that you can kind of see on the blister bubble. It's not too bad, and it might just be because these are samples. I'm not entirely sure, but for the most part, I love how bright and colorful and clean that these look. And like I said, since they're collector-friendly packages, that means you can just slide the card back off, and we can pull the tray and the figure right out of the packaging. So that is really nice. Gives you the option to pull the figure out, mess around with it a little bit if you want, and then if you decide you want to put it back in the package to hang on the wall, that is something that you can do. So I've got this original Undertaker Bend-Em figure here, and just kind of showing side by side, you can see how they mimicked the cardback style, even with like the rays of light kind of coming from behind the figure there. You can see the artwork up in the corner, bending the Major Bendies logo, similar to the Bend-Ems logo getting bent over there. And you can even see on the back side there, the cross cell is also set up the same way, and they mimicked the trading card. Now on the vintage ones, you could actually punch out a trading card here. So this does not actually punch out of the back, but still it's really cool to see the attention to detail being paid on these, and really just kind of mimicking that vintage style, which makes these extra fun, especially for longtime fans. So we want to pull these out. Look, it's very easy. We can just pull that tray right out of there, and look, now we've got ourselves our Bend-Em figures. So let me go ahead and get all these Bendies out of their boxes, and then we'll get a closer look at them here. Alright, so we've got our Major Bendies outside of those packages. I want to bring in the tape measure here so you can see that they stand right at 5 inches tall, and impressively, these figures do stand on their own. I mean, look at the way they're balancing on the table here. I was actually wondering if I was going to be able to get these standing. So if you are somebody that's going to open these, you'll have to find the right balance. Obviously, with these being bendy figures, and they're also, a little top heavy because they've got bigger upper bodies. So you can see they are going to topple over sometimes, but you can really find a position to get them standing. Now, I don't have any loose vintage ones, unfortunately, but I want to still bring my Taker back so you can see the size comparison here between the new ones and those original ones. These are very similar in size to those first couple waves, or at least the first wave of the original Just Toys Bendies. I will say, looks a little bigger. Like, I don't know, Matt's definitely a little bit more beefed up than the Undertaker here for sure. But later on, the Bendies got smaller in size. Like, look at this later Undertaker figure. He looks tiny in comparison to Matt in this particular look. But I wanted to show you that size comparison there so you know what to expect. Obviously, Swoggle is the more unique one since he's got the smaller stature. I actually really love the look of this here. And in case you guys need a measurement on that as well, that puts him just under 4 inches tall. Now, I will say that these feel great. They're really sturdy, and they feel a lot like those vintage Bend-Ems figures. They don't actually have a lot of flexibility, but I remember the old ones being similar to that as well. You can see you can kind of flex the legs around, you can bend them back a little bit. The arms kind of move, but for the most part, these guys are pretty much stuck in this pose, it seems. They're made the same way, just like all those vintage ones, but it is very solid and very rigid. Like, these are very, very solid hunks of plastic, which is why they don't have a ton of flexibility to them, it seems. Now, they do seem like they are made really, really well, and I love the bright colors here. Everything looks crisp and clean. You can see all of Cardona's deco on his tights and his knee pads. We got the skull there. Got the MC on his knee pads. Same with the boots there. Always ready on the back. You'll also notice that etched into the back of the figures is the autographs of each of these individuals. So that's pretty cool. Swoggle, same way. Great deco on there. Nice and bright and colorful. Everything looks crisp and clean. You can see his signature on the back as well. Then we've got Smart Mark Sterling in that sweet, sweet gear right there. The red and the blue with the stars. We do have some paint slop on here. This is the first that I've really noticed. But you'll see there's a little bit of kind of overspray down here. Some sloppy paint, some drip. So I don't know how common that's going to be. Hopefully not too much. And, that happens from time to time. You can see it on the hand there as well. So a little bit of sloppy paint. You got his signature a little smaller on the back because of the lettering going down the back. I will say this is raised as well. It's not just painted on. It's actually part of the mold, which is pretty nice. And then we got Brian Myers there as well. Got that sweet beard. You got all of his great bright orange deco there as well. Some of the orange looks like it's not quite laid on thick with the black underneath. I totally get it. Sometimes the black will kind of poke through on those brighter colors. But for the most part, I think these look really nice and clean. Like, the only real sloppy paint that I had, unfortunately, was on Mark Sterling over here. But the rest of these guys seem super solid. And the cool thing about these is because they are like that really solid plastic, I mean, they are good for bashing around, so you could really wrestle these dudes around if you want to. I mean, like if you're a kid, just bash them together. They're obviously not superposable, so you're not gonna get cool moves or displays or poses out of them. But they are super fun. These were sort of like a novelty thing, but everything that's old is cool again, and I think it's really fun to see something like this come back. Will you guys stop jobbing? Stand up, man. Stay on your feet. Good grief. So, good stuff all around. I think these are really fun. I always admired the old ones as well. Like I said, I still have my Undertakers in my collection. I think this is a fun thing to see back. I know that we're getting other wrestlers in the coming waves as well. I know Danhausen has already been announced. Very evil, very bendies. So pretty cool stuff. So definitely make sure you guys check these out if this looks like something you are interested in. These are for sale through the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast store. I will link that down in the video description. Once again, shout out to the boys for sending these over so we can get a good look at them outside of the packaging. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and until next time.